I've always been the person I am today. In other words, I've always been a good person. I've always tried to practice kindness. And I shared earlier that my value system, I've always felt the meaning of life is to live it in a way to make a meaningful difference.
Entirely through my life, through people's lives, through human existence, we begin as one thing and we grow into another, right? It's this constant change, it's this constant growth, it's this constant evolution of I'm I am a new version of what I once was, but I'm not the same. And multiple times through my life, I've had to mourn the life that once existed to enter into the life that now exists and will exist, right? Or or maybe give myself time to mourn what I thought my life was supposed to look like, right? And so when you describe this head down, shoulders down, something very meaningful and deep, it's like maybe someone could be excused for saying, "Well, Kevin, like, how could you feel like that when it's a mission of kindness? How could you drop your shoulders and your head when you're talking about kindness?" Right? And I don't think that's what the droopy shoulders are about. It's about acceptance of becoming, stepping into a new life, right? That looks different than what you imagined. And so what was that really like for you, stepping into that? And how much of that are you still walking through right now?
Oh, I'm still walking through it, I assure you, but I'm getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm,
I guess, boy, how would I describe it? I think part of it gets into before this act of kindness occurred. Again, I've always been the person I am today. In other words, I've always been a good person. I've always tried to practice kindness. And I shared earlier that my value system, I've always felt the meaning of life is to live it in a way to make a meaningful difference. And I do that by day. I'm a wealth advisor by day. It's very meaningful for me to help my clients translate their monetary resources into meaningful life experiences. And I've been very successful at that. I have a great team that does that. But you can only work with so many clients, right? There's a cap on really who you can serve. When you're trying to change the world through kindness, it's the world. I mean, the world is your oyster. I mean, nothing gets any bigger, nothing gets any more meaningful. And before this journey began, I thought I had the rest of my life figured out. I was balanced, I was comfortable, I had plenty of time to play guitar. I was in my happy place and I envisioned what the rest of my life would look like. I was kind of scaling back a little bit, having more free time to, do other things, everything meaningful. And that was just the world I was in and I thought was ahead of me. And then when this occurred, and when my brother-in-law just accidentally happened to be reading a document on my family room table when he was up visiting that had my objectives and kind of, the timetable of things that were happening, this framework for kindness week, and he happened to read it. And I'm in my corner chair, I'm in my happy place. I got a coffee in my left, my dog Bella sitting on my right. I'm spent, Randy. Like I was sprinting a marathon. I've never been a part of anything more intense. I mean, if I average 1 or 2 hours sleep a night, that's probably pushing it. I always got 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night before. This thing was bigger than me, but I had a finite end game. I had like this event. We're going to celebrate this young woman, and then I'm going to move on. I'm going to get back to my life again, my life of comfort. And I also knew that this journey was forcing me to be vulnerable, forcing me to be uncomfortable. Look, I can do it. Public speaking is something I do from time to time. That doesn't mean I look forward to it. That doesn't mean I don't get nervous about it. I never knew what a podcast was before this journey began. Now I'm on them all the time. I'm obviously with you today. And I remember the first podcast I had to do in this journey. I was a nervous wreck. I didn't sleep the night before. What am I going to say? All the things you get in your head, your self talk is often our worst form of criticism. And just being out there, being vulnerable, saying what I feel, writing from the heart, and the intensity of the hours. And then as it evolved and kept getting bigger and bigger, when my brother-in-law pointed out to me, what he saw, which I kind of knew, but I was kind of denying. And when he said, Kevin, you can't stop, you got to keep going. Our world needs this right now. You can bring this framework of kindness week to communities anywhere and everywhere. You got to start a nonprofit. That was when it hit me that this period of intensity of time and vulnerability wasn't just temporary. It wasn't just going to end on November 9th when we, recognize this young woman. This is going to be the rest of my life.